Data warehouse migration is always tricky, but how many times do you get a chance to consolidate two data warehouses running on the same platform? That's exactly what I've been working on recently. A larger company acquired a smaller one, and we had to migrate Snowflake data from their account to ours. So yes, a Snowflake-to-Snowflake migration. At first, it sounds simple. Same platform, same SQL, just another boring project, right? Well, not quite. So here is the setup. The smaller company was already running on Snowflake. Production data, dashboards, basically the whole ecosystem. The acquired company also on Snowflake, but in a different region, on a different cloud provider, and following different internal standards. Leadership wanted one unified Snowflake environment. So the task was merge their account into ours without breaking pipelines, dashboards, or compliance. There is a lot of things you need to take care during such a migration. I will walk you through the most common problems you can face. Firstly, role-based access control. The smaller the organization, the messier the roles and grants. The larger the organization, the stricter the RBAC model, usually with centralized audited roles. There is no clean way to merge those without redesigning access control from scratch. That's why I recommend creating an access matrix to identify overlapping roles and align privileges before migration. Secondly, external integrations. Not everything can be copied directly between accounts. Things like OAuth setups, external APIs, storage integration, everything have to be rebuilt, mostly from scratch. And if you are in a large company, chances are you can't do this alone because of insufficient privileges, for example. You will need support from DataOps or DBA teams, which adds complexity and time. So plan for that early. Thirdly, actual data movement. A Snowflake zero-copy clone only works inside the same account, so that is not an option. And on top of that, in case you want to move data across cloud and cross-region, you also need to take into consideration physical data replication, which adds additional cost and complexity. To move all the historical data, we created a data shares to access the data and then recreate the tables as select. It works really nice, especially when you follow database as a code approach. So basically, to create a pipeline to deploy your Snowflake objects based on your config repository. In this case, it really simplified the testing and migration across all environments. Next, data testing. I'm not going to lie, it was one of the fulfilling things to do. I remember that in the past, to do such comparison between different data warehouses, we had to artificially create a unique hash for each record just to validate cross-warehouse migration. It was both time-consuming to prepare and also to run. For Snowflake-to-Snowflake migration, you can now simply use #ACK function, which computes a fingerprint for an entire table. It simplifies process a lot and is also super quick to run. And finally, standards and naming conventions. Manually adjusting standards and objects naming is error-prone and long and super boring process, especially if you need to do it for hundreds or even thousands of objects. For everything which SnowConvert didn't fix, you can try using AI. Of course, only if you have a private instance set up to avoid any data leak. Just please don't use ChatGPT for that. If you prompt it nicely, it can significantly help you change the most obvious things. So if I had to give one extra piece of advice, it's this: plan for people and not just data. Migrations touch BI teams, analysts, data scientists, DevOps, compliance, and even the finance if cost models change. Meet with each team to find out which pipelines they own, which dashboards cannot afford downtime, and which datasets can be archived instead of migrated. These conversations can save you a lot from moving unused data. In our case, it reduced migration scope by over 50%. So I'm not going to lie, it was one of the most challenging part of the project, but at the same time, the most important. So merging Snowflake accounts during an acquisition isn't only about the data migration, it's mostly about alignment, access controls, naming, integrations. I've been through it, and if you are going through a post-acquisition Snowflake merge, don't assume it will be straightforward just because it's Snowflake to Snowflake. So if you are dealing with Redshift or any other data warehouse instead of Snowflake merge, I made a full video on the gotchas of Redshift to Snowflake migrations, which you can check in the description below. And if you ever engage if you ever were engaged in any data warehouse migration. Let us know your experience in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Ciao!